Welcome back. We are going to talk today about PvP and what I'm doing on my build order right now against this. Every Saturday I play random to learn the different races, and today I had a really textbook, very clean PvP against my opponent. So I'm just going to talk about my build order, and hopefully you can take this and apply it on the ladder. This is working up until about mid-plat, so there's a lot of improvement to do. I'm not very good at Protoss, but I'm learning. So I'm going to talk today a little bit about the idea of the build and why I'm doing these things. So I was playing random, so I give it to I always tell my race when I play random. But you start off basically a Pylon, Gate, Gas. Oh, my opponent being a little funky this morning with me, so bit of banter back and forth. So Pylon, Gate, and then Gas at 16. And then this is my most important point, is you always should scout off of the Gas at 16. So you can see if they're going to do any kind of weird proxies. You should check to see if they have all their pylons in their base. But yeah. And then I go second gate first. And this is for my first push I'll talk to you about. So as soon as I drop that second gate, what I want to be doing... Okay, so... taking a little bit quickly. So opener is Pylon, Gate, Gas. Then second gate, and at 19 supply you're going to be taking your Nexus. I take Nexus first before Cyber, and I'll explain why. So, but during this scout, this is when you confirm if you're going to take Nexus first, or if you want to get your gateway down quickly. So I'm in his base. I confirm that he's got a forge, which means I'm probably going to get... He's either going to turtle up or he's going to try to cannon rush me or something like that. I'm not too worried, but he doesn't have a second gas yet. So I know that I'm not expecting any really early pressure. It's just a standard opener. So I feel safe that I can delay my Cyber a little more and take my Cybernetics core, take my Nexus second. However, anytime you can steal a Protoss second gas, especially in PvP, you should steal their gas. So I notice this, and I see he's got one gate. I'm gonna take his gas. Take his gas, send him home. So that stealing the gas kind of delays my Nexus a little bit more, but that's a massive advantage for me stealing his gas. And he gets a little bit angry. So 400 minerals, boom, drop my Nexus, and then the next thing I'm going to do as soon as I possibly can is drop my Cyber Core. Another thing I noticed on his side is his Cyber Core was a little bit earlier than mine, but I've got two Nexuses when I have two gateways when he only had one, so I have a defender's advantage. So now I'm just going to chrono out probes now to fill up my gases to try to wait until my Cyber is done. That's the next step. So in review, the opener, unless you're doing any kind of cheeky steals or anything like that, what you should be looking at is Pylon, Gateway, Gas, Gateway, Nexus. And basically, you just build these whenever you have the resources, the minerals for it, but you should never stop making probes unless you get to 19. And at 19 supply, you wait so you can drop down your Nexus. Then instantly take your second gas. Alright, now the next convergence point is after the Cybernetics core finishes up. Also, don't ever forget your 21 Pylon. 21 Pylon is very important. So I'll put the build order in the description, the link description below, so you can take a look at it. Alright, so let's look at Cybernetics core finishes. What are we doing? 2 Stalkers, Warp Gate, and then we are going to take a Robo as soon as we can. Now I see that he's got a cannon down on my second base, but I'm not really worried about that. I have a Robo coming, which was part of my build anyway, and Immortals can take out those cannons even if there's a whole mess of them. So unfortunately at this point I should be keeping my probe production out. I should be making more and more probes to saturate this second base as soon as I can. However, I see that I've got a little bit of harassment, but nothing too serious. I think he's just, he's just a little bit angry that I stole his gas. So he's dropping a cannon in my base. Just a little bit of friendly PvP banter. I ask him, yeah, why are you so salty, buddy? Yeah, taking that second gas really screws up a lot of Protoss builds. Because now I can chrono out 2 more Stalkers, so I've got 4 Stalkers. I'm going to take his probe out first. This is always so important if you're getting cannon rush. Take out the probe so you can't have more workers in your base. And I'm not going to go and attack that cannon until I've got my 4 Stalkers. But right at this point, I'm just making probes, I'm making Stalkers, and I'm getting my robotics facility finished. So this is part of the build. Alright, so floating a little bit of minerals because I'm kind of focused on how much more cannons and things there are. But luckily there's nothing. Okay, so here is the next convergence point. At this point, I've got 4 Stalkers, my Robo facility is finished. I always usually, I would say 90% of the time, today I don't do it, but I go Observer first to avoid any kind of harassment with Dark Templars, because right at about 4:30, if he's rushing into Dark Templar, he's going to have Dark Templars in my base. With this Observer, it stops that immediately. So I get a Robo as soon as I can, as soon as my first 2 Stalkers go down. And then the Robo will always chrono out an Observer first. This time, because he put a cannon in my base, I know that he's not going Dark Templar. There's just not enough resources to do that. So I go Immortal first because I want to have a little bit of extra defense in case there's more shenanigans on the map. But at 4 Stalkers, I always send my Stalkers downrange across the map to see what's going on. A lot of times you can just win with this first 4 Stalker push. They're going to get a little bit too greedy. They're going to try too much, and I've got more stuff down on their side. When I move out, it's about 4 minutes, 30 seconds. You're going to get what are we looking at? Double Forge, a Twilight Council, and a 3rd Gateway. So I like to put my forges in front of my main mineral line here, just personal preference. You could build a wall with them, you can do whatever you want, you can put him over in the corners to try to scout if he's coming with drop ships. It's really up to you. I like putting him here. I don't know why, but that's just my personal preference. So here we go. Let's take a look. Now, back at the base, I'm not rallying these Immortals out across the map with my Stalkers. I'm keeping the Immortal at home, and I have now Warp Gate finished. So when I push across the map, if I see something coming into my base, I can warp in more Stalkers or adepts or whatever I need, and I've got an Immortal at home. So this is kind of my backup. I always chrono out Immortals the entire time I am walking across the map. But you'll see I'm going to take 2 Forge right now and a Twilight Council as soon as I can, and a 3rd Gate just as I have money for it. And I'm across the map scouting. So at this point, I see that he's got a line of cannons, which means he's turtling up, which means I don't really need to worry about a lot of pressure coming down my range. This is already about 500 minerals, 600 minerals worth of stuff. So let's see what I've done with my 600 minerals. I have probably way more drones than he does. I've got a Robo facility. I've got 2 forges coming out. I'm going to have a Robo facility on the way, and I'm floating a lot of gas. This is a mistake I always make. I take my gases a little bit, I don't have enough production to use my gas, which is why I get these forge a little bit earlier usually, so I can dump my gas into upgrades sooner. But let's see what he's got over on his side. He's got a mess of gateways. He's got a robotics facility. He's got a forge and a bunch of cannons, but no units. Absolutely no units. He's got, let's see what the units he's got. He's got 3 Stalkers and 25 probes. I've got 32 Stalkers, an Immortal, and 32 probes, an Immortal, and 3 Stalkers. So I'm just spending my cash. Again, this is platinum. This is not super high league stuff. But as soon as I can, I like to get away from Stalkers. So there we go. So I've got 2 Forge. I've got a 3rd Gate, and then my Twilight Council will be going down very, very soon. And I'm just still chroning out Immortals every time I have the cash for it when I'm not trying to tech up. And then as soon as my forges pop, I'm going to start +1/+1. And it's about 5 minutes. You should be doing that. I'm a little bit late. Just about 5 minutes. There we go. And then at 1/1, should have my Twilight Council coming in any minute. There she is, Twilight Council. Okay, so now let's take a look. I'm gonna try to saturate my second gas. I'm not too good at building probes. I'm just working as hard as I can, but without a doubt, at about 6 minutes, you need to start taking your your third Nexus, unless you're trying to all in. So this is another little kind of cute thing I do here in my build. So 6 minutes, this is production time. So I'm going to take a third base. I'm going to take a third base at 6 minutes. I'm going to drop. Okay, so hold on. Let's watch my build here. Come on. I'm just warping in stuff right now. Getting charge as soon as it's done. Okay, so it's a little bit out of order here. Sorry about that. As soon as the Twilight Council is done, I'm going to get charge. As soon as the Twilight Council finishes and charge starts, I'm going to get a Templar Archives. I want to be able to start spending all of this gas that I'm going to be banking up. Then I'm going to slowly work up towards 8 gates. So I have 3. I need to add 5 more. So I'm going to slowly add 5 more gates. But the big mistake I see that I do a lot is I don't use these 3 gates, and then I just add a whole bunch more gates. So if they come and push in, I have nothing. So what you should always do is do a round of warp-ins, and then whatever money you have left over, dump into gates. That's my best advice for you. And any gas you have, you should be putting into Immortals and upgrades until you get your Templar Archives. And as soon as you have, it should be before you have 2 fully saturated bases. My third's pretty late actually on this, but you should have, by 6 minutes, you should be starting your third base. I'm about 30 seconds late, but I'm probably going to get it, yeah, right there. So, and now we're going to keep upgrading. We're going to keep warping in. So there we go. I'm going to warp in to spend my gas. I'm going to spend any extra resources on gates. And then I'm going to Immortal out, Chrono out another Immortal. And I'm always going to be making probes as much as possible as soon as this is finished. Right now, I can't really do anything. If I was to make probes at this time, I've got a fully saturated base here, oversaturation. And I'm actually oversaturated on this. So probes right now is not necessarily a high priority. I should have had this base done earlier, so I could have been making more probes, but I'm going to wait until that's finished, and then I'll start making probes out again. So I've got this beefy army here, starting my +2/+2 as soon as they're done. Always have upgrades chronoing and going up. Alright, so there we go. Now it's just spend your money time. Time to spend your money. And now at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm in the spot that I want to be in. I'm getting +2/+2. My third base is complete, and I'm starting to make probes again. As soon as you do this, I need map control to be able to drone this base. And I don't want him to come in and push in on this because I've invested a whole bunch of resources in on this base, and I'm starting to make probes again, so this is another investment. So during this time, when I'm droning up my third base, I push out across the map. I say droning because I'm a natural Zerg. I'm probing up my base, I guess. Saturating the base. I push out towards his third because I want to take his economy while I'm on a bigger economy. That's how I'm going to win in PvP. So I'm droning up. I've stopped kind of my warp ends, but I'm still getting upgrades and things like that. I come out, and now this is actually a bit of an overextension for me. I notice here that he's on 0-0. I've got 1-1, and I know my 2-2 is on the way. So I've got a massive, I've got all these advantages right now. I've got upgrade advantages, I've got economy advantages, and yeah, those are my 2 big advantages I have right now, upgrade and economy. I don't know anything about infrastructure, but I'm assuming he doesn't have this base over here. This is a very hard to defend base. I haven't checked, but I'm fairly certain that I'm safe. So kind of a mistake on my part here. I lose my whole army. I think I could take it, but his cannons, he's got just a bunch of cannons behind this as well. I do a lot of damage to him, but he completely cleans up my army. But during that time, I'm not necessarily looking over there. I'm watching back. So let's watch that attack again. Let's watch my camera during this attack. So let's go to me. my camera. I'm charting at my third. I see, okay, great, he doesn't have a third base. Let's see what's down over here. Then I'm back home. I'm making sure that I have my infrastructure up. I'm chronoing out. I've got Archons going. I'm trying to spend my cash. And then I come back. Oh, Jesus. I think I could take that. Then I realize I can't take that. It's a lost cause. All right, back home. But I know that also I've basically killed his whole army. And now, right now, if he was to move across the map, I can smash his army right now. So my goal right now is to start 3-3, continue to macro up, and to build up my army until I know I can smash him. So one quick thing, you need to always put an anchor down on your third. I took out his third, so now my most vulnerable spot is my third. So I'm going to put a couple cannons in front of my third, and I'm going to bring my charge lots over here, but I'm going to keep my main hulking army down into my main base, because I need to protect it. So charge lots come over to hold, but again, I'm still getting upgrades, Immortals, charge lots, Archons. The spending on this, what I do is I will spend all of my gas into High Templar, and then any remaining money now into Zealots. And I'm just going to wait until my 3-3 is about done, and then I'm going to push out. Now I notice my third base is super saturated. So I guess before we go into the late game after 10 minutes, so this is basically my build now. I'm on my composition that I want to try to win this match with, Charge Lot Immortal Archon. So how do you get here? You open up Pylon, Gateway, Gas, Gateway, Nexus, and then as soon as you have 4 Stalkers, you send them downrange to see what he's doing. You try to win the game. While you're sending your Stalkers downrange, you take a third Gateway, you take a Robo, and you start chronoing out Immortals after you get your first Observer. Then, at about 4.5 minutes, you're going to get your Forges, Double Forge, Twilight Council, as soon as your first Immortal pops. And you're going to start, if you want to get Blink, you go ahead and get Blink. I get away from it. It's just too much micro. I'm not a big fan of Blink. If he's doing like a big all-in and you don't have time to get up to this Charge Lot Immortal Archon composition, Blink is fine. But you get Twilight Council. As soon as Twilight Council's finished, you start Charge, and you get a Templar Archives. When you get a Templar Archives, you're going to start slowly adding on your gateways up until 8. So I'm at 8. Then, saturate your third. Take your third, saturate your third, and keep getting upgrades, and just basically spend your money. This is how you win in PvP, is in the lower leagues, is just spend your cash. Always keep it low. So let's take a look here. He's on 44 workers. I'm on 64 workers. I have a little bit more money than he does, but let's just watch overall the next minute or so of me spending my money. I want you to take a look at that, and this is really the reason why I'm winning, is because upgrades and my macro. But at this point, I'm noticing first base is saturated, second base perfectly saturated, third base is oversaturated. I'm floating minerals. You know what? I can take a fourth base, so I can start transferring my drones from these emptying out bases to my fourth. And I'm going to keep spending my cash. So let's watch my warp-ins. Right here. There we go. Just watch my money. Watch my money. I have a lot more workers than he does, and I'm going to be spending it way more efficiently than he is. If you look just overall, my numbers are usually lower than his. Okay, I'm supply blocked. This is a big issue. So let's watch this warp in. Ready? So the warp in, oh, he's in my base now. But I'm going to warp in a bunch of, alright, so here we go. Let's take a look at what he comes in with. He's going to come in with this whole army. He's got 11 Immortals and 3 Stalkers. 11 Immortals is a lot of Immortals. That's quite a bit of Immortals. But let's look what they are. 0, 0. What am I? 2, 2. Almost 3, 3. So I've got a huge upgrade advantage. I've got a defender's advantage. I've got an uphill advantage. I've got an economy advantage. I've got an infrastructure advantage. I am not going to lose this game. It doesn't matter that he has this base now. I've had my base longer, and I've been spending my money better than he has. So I want you to, I'm not going to watch this engagement because I abolish this engagement. I want you to watch my warp in style. So I'm going to warp in a bunch of High Templar to spend all this gas, and then I'm going to warp in a bunch of Zealots to spend this minerals. Oh, I'm warping in Zealots. Hold up. This might be because my gateways are on cooldown. Alright, so I'm moving across the map with my army here. Oops, I'm on normal. Okay, here we go. Well, usually we'll buy Archons to spend that out, but I think I'm doing a tech switch now. Okay, yeah, here we go. Here we go. This is why I didn't spend that gas. I'm pushing out across the map. I've got massive, massive map control, and I don't see me losing this fight. Where am I moving? I'm moving back to his third. I want to take out his third so I can just cripple his economy. Because I know if his base, let's look at my front base. We've been mining off of this about the same amount of time. I can have up to 8 workers here. What's he at? 8 workers. We're on the same amount of minerals left over on a main base. Second base, he denied my second base for a little bit with that one like strange cannon here for a while. But I'm still at, I can still have full saturation on this, but my mineral patches are getting pretty low. This one's just about to mine out. This one's just about to mine out. Let's look at his. He's still the same. We're about to mine out on this. Third base, still nice and full. So this is where all of his money is going to be coming from. Mine too, still nice and full. And I'm even taking a fourth, which is almost finished, so I can start moving drones over to here. I don't really ever go above 66. So what do I want to do? His sweetest, most vulnerable spot, his third base, I'm going to destroy it with a whole mess of charge lots and Immortals and Archons. And behind this, if this doesn't work, I'm getting into Stargate. I want to go and switch into carriers. So I'm into 64 workers. I can keep this money spending on my current charge lot Immortal Archon, but I've got momentum, I've got map control. I'm going to capitalize on that right now. I'm going to switch into carriers. So let's watch what I'm looking at. Am I looking at this? I get my charge slots in his base. I know that I'm going to murder that. Back home. Let's transfer my workers. There we go. So we've got Archons and then charge lots. That's what I was trying to show you. So I've got Archons to spend on my mineral, my gas, and then charge lots to spend all of my money. And I know now I can just punch into his first base. I'm waiting for these Stargates to finish up, and then I'll start making carriers. GGWP. Good game, well played. So the beauty of Charge Lot Immortal Archon. But the real victor here isn't my composition. It's not my macro. Well, it was my macro until this point when he typed GG and I stopped spending. But it's my upgrades. Let's look at the upgrade count. He had Warp Gate. He never got Charge, he never got Blank, he had Warp Gate. I had Warp Gate 2-2. My economy was always better than his. I had 3 bases, almost 4, while he was still on 2. And I was just out macroing the whole game. If we go look at the graphs really quick, so we can show this. Watch my match history. So yeah, here we go. So he spent a little bit better than I did, actually. But let's look at the workers active. I had quite a few more workers for him the majority of the game. This beginning section here was when I was getting cannon rushed, and I didn't feel comfortable droning up my second base until I took it out. And then he basically stopped doing that for a long time. So I had the majority, I had about a 5 to 10 worker lead the entire game. And my spending was less than 100 higher minerals than he was. So I was spending very well. I didn't get supply blocked as much as he did. Let's look at the workers active. Not the workers active, the upgrades. This is the real victor of the match here. He got Warp Gate. I got everything else in between. And I won the match. So this is right now my MMR for Platinum for random is gold 2, I guess. So it's not very good right now. So take a look. This is working on. This has been working recently for a lot of my random games. Hope you learned something, and I'll see you next time.